We opened basically a new niche that was a hybrid between forged and flow-forged wheels. At this time it was very difficult because the production techniques were much less developed than we have them today. I couldn't find it, so I just thought I can create it myself. Sleepless nights, endless efforts, and not to talk about the cost involved. Everything started with the desire to have something really special on the car because at this point, at this time, like 15 years ago, there were a lot of wheel manufacturers on the market, but there was none of them which came up to my expectations of a wheel, because what I was basically at this point, I was the customer and I became the manufacturer. I was the one who desired the product, but I couldn't find it, so I just thought I can create it myself. At this point, like 15 years ago, there was almost no concave wheels on the market. I think there was just one specific manufacturer who did it, but they were very expensive. Just a regular guy with a regular budget for wheels, you never had the chance to buy such wheels because you couldn't afford them. What I did is basically met the desire or fulfilled the desire of a customer with a less big amount of money. I just wanted to supply a certain good that doesn't exist in that shape and at this price for everyone. The very hard part was not what everybody may believe, but to put in practice or to create something physically what you have in your mind. Just the desire out of the mind to build something that you can touch, that you can put your hands on. How do you get an idea into a physical product? And this is where the hardship started, because you basically don't have any idea how you can produce a wheel if you aren't in this business. You are not involved in business. You are not an engineer. You are not familiar with things that are really being produced. That means you need a manufacturer. You need a company. You need a factory who puts into practice or who makes or shapes something that you have in your mind, something that doesn't exist. The problem was always that we needed concavity. At this time there were no concave wheels, so we needed something. You need to explain something to somebody that doesn't exist. You need a concave wheel in a specific shape with a specific manufacturing process that didn't support this. You could at this time manufacture something like this as a forged product, a forged wheel, which is basically made by CNC out of a pressed aluminum barrel. And you need somehow to transform this manufacturing process into one that is made out of a melted aluminum. And this is where the hardship starts, because the circumstances change. Everything what is custom and what is made by CNC is basically very easy, and it can be done very quickly because you have just one set. What we needed is a mass product that fulfilled the desires of the customer and came up to the requirements of the TÜV in Germany, because when you basically manufacture something that is suited for a market who needs a specific certification, there are limits. So you were limited in certain ways, and it was very difficult to manufacture the product and fulfilling the requirements of the TÜV. We were talking about TÜV, and basically fulfilling the requirements of TÜV was the hardest part in building up this business, because you were limited in terms of loading weight, you were limited in terms of shape of the spokes. That means if you desire thin, straight, nice looking ones, it's almost impossible, because the loading weight that the TÜV requires from your product is much higher than the products that existed at this time. So the hard part was to generate or to produce or to create a product that is looking good but still fulfilling the requirements of the TÜV. So this is the hard part. Sleepless nights, endless efforts, and not to talk about the cost involved, because once you start doing something like this, and once you know how TÜV works, you know how difficult and expensive it is. Sometimes it's good to be in a hard position or to have big competition, because this leads always to innovation. You need always to be 1 or 2 steps in front of everybody, and in order to be a leader, in order to create and to be unique and to be the best on the market, you always need to be very inventive, very creative, and to come up with solutions that maybe others don't think about. And this is where the hardest part comes in, because you always need to be first. You always need to check which production manufacturing techniques are new on the market, what possibilities you have to get them, how can you combine all this hard part of the TÜV with the techniques of production that maybe are new, and you always need to test them. For example, sometimes it happened that you see a new technique like the tilt cast technology, but it's really difficult to combine it with the requirements of the TÜV because of these limitations you have. Basically started with the brand that I desired the most, that I liked the most. It was BMW, and I built wheels for BMW, and it was always the small engine cars and just normal cars and non-M cars, non-powerful ones. And I always dreamed about having one set of my wheels on an M3. And in order to do so, I had to work really hard. I had to convince a lot of customers about the products because everybody was afraid of the quality. At this time there were not many manufacturers on the market, and people were afraid. They were used with the traditional German companies, and all of a sudden you had a company that popped up out of nothing and offered something really unique that they didn't understood. So I always was keen on persuading or looking for those customers who want something unique and show them that the products are really worth to be bought, worth to be put on their cars. And since then, basically nothing changed. When I see a customer that is satisfied with the product, a customer that brags about having your name or putting your wheels with your brand on his car, and what happened? Not only that, I managed to have one set of wheels on an M car. Basically, there was every M car in Europe equipped with the performance wheels. And this keeps me going, because the expectations rise, the cars that you want to have your product on change, and now also my desires change. So I basically desire to have my wheels on a supercar and in the end on a hypercar. In the beginning, we had no clue what to do. We were searching for solutions and didn't know where to start. This is a situation who many companies face once established and outsource their production. It may happen because it's not under your control that certain things don't run as you wish, as you desire. But we had the idea to provide again something completely different, something that there is not on the market, something that nobody thought about it before. We thought of doing something according to the experience we had of the customer inquiries we had, because everything goes into direction forged. Much more of our inquiries were about two-piece wheels, about modular wheels, and what we actually did is bridging the gap between desire and fulfillment. And the problem with forged wheels is that it's almost impossible or very difficult and expensive to get TÜV for them. You have a very long waiting time that very often customers don't want to accept, or that they are very expensive. And as I said in the beginning, we want to provide something for our customers that is affordable, but to maintain our quality. I'm not the kind of person who easily gives up, and I approached one of our factories with the question if it's possible to build a wheel with the existing production techniques and something that never or nobody thought about it before. Something that keeps the production cost as low that the customer doesn't need to pay that much money, but at the same time keeps the design almost identical to a forged wheel, but you can hold in stock, and at the same time meets the requirements of TÜV. These three things combined together is almost impossible. With the power of will, with a enthusiasm that doesn't stop once you face first difficulties, or which doesn't hold you back just because some people think it's impossible. We managed to build it, we managed to come forth and create something that nobody was able to do before. Our power was always design. And this is what kept us on the market for so many years. And I really believe that with these new products, with this completely new niche that we want to establish, that we want to introduce into the market, because there is no modular wheel that is in stock, that can be TÜV certified, and at this price. And besides design, from 2024, our main force will be price. Competitiveness, quality, and design. The idea was to provide something that is immediately available. And in order to do so, you have to create some circumstances. In this case, we did it with cast and flow forging, and this makes it different from the other wheels or other products on the market. To come up with something very special after the pandemic. Reason was that a ton of new wheel manufacturers appeared on the market, and in order to stay competitive, we had to be very inventive. We had to come up with something that is immediately available, that is TÜV certified, and gives our customer a much higher value than just the usual, the normal, the wheel designs, the manufacturing techniques that already popped up, and with every single design it was impossible to come up with new ideas. So we opened basically a new niche that was a hybrid between forged and flow forged wheels. So what was basically the only thing that was to do? To combine forged with flow form and make it modular. In this case we have a wheel that looks like a forged, has the quality of a flow forged wheel, but at the price of a flow forged wheel. That means you have a brilliant looking wheel, modular, basically looking like a forged one, with no difference but in price. They are immediately available, they are TÜV certified for the German market, and they are cheap. You know, when you develop something that doesn't exist, you encounter a lot of things, a lot of tough questions that you have to answer to. How can we make it work? Is it even possible that they pass TUV? Is it possible to make a basically cast wheel that concave that it comes up to the requirements of the market? Can we keep the price? Can we make it sustainable? Will it look good? There are so many questions we didn't know how to answer them. It was impossible to basically find information about it because it doesn't exist. And we came up with the idea, screw everything, let's just do it. Let's ask the factory if this is even possible. And they said yes. They said yes, we're gonna try it. We don't know if it works, but we can try it. And I said, let's do it. And that was the starting point of something that took me 11 months, countless sleepless nights, a lot of tough and difficult steps that had to be overcome, and everything without even to know if we're gonna make it or not. And while we are talking right now, actually I have it in front of me and I'm impressed. I still can't believe we made it. And I believe, and I'm pretty sure, this is the most concave wheel on the market. In order to build something bespoke, but still as a mass product, we decided to do it for a very specific number of cars. Not for every car in the beginning, but we decided to take the M3, G80, the M4, G82, M2, G87, the M4, the older version, the F80, M3, F82, M4, and to measure the brakes. This is what you basically also do for the forged wheels, and build this specific wheel for the specific cars in the beginning. And the reason why it's the most concave one, because we measured the brakes and took every millimeter that you have, every inch of space, and built the wheel as concave as possible. And we cleared the calipers of these specific cars by 2 millimeters. That means there is no more space for a more concave wheel. And while machining the spokes, they look very neat, very nice, very narrow, specific, like a forged wheel, but still cast. And they pass TUV. Everybody wants to be unique. Everybody wants to stand out. Everybody wants to have something that nobody had before him. And since there is no modular wheel in this specification on the market, I really believe that this is going to be something that will smash the market. In the first place, we decided to come up on the market with 2 completely new designs with a specific number of cars. What we plan for the next years is to expand to bigger dimensions, to different cars, different car brands. We now offer specific fitments for BMW, for Mercedes, for Tesla, for Audi. And what we plan is to make a wider variety of wheels that fit many cars with the most concave possible fitments, and of course modular, and monoblock for performance. Why Tesla? There are signs, or the market tends to go electric, and it's difficult to oversee that Tesla is taking over the market and is probably one of the most sold car brands, electric car brands on the market. And we built a specific wheel for the Y model because, as far as we know from the statistics, this is the most sold Tesla in the world. And we wanted to have a unique design which fits the requirements of Tesla owners, because these are very specific kind of people and they have their own expectations and requirements about their wheel. And that's what I believe is a very interesting market for future wheel manufacturers.